3 years of love. And when Ethan's first love returned, he forgot about me. He indulged his first love as she destroyed my dress, took my trophy, and stole the role that should have been mine. The Song family fell into hardship, and I needed money. So I went to him for help. Encouraged by his first love, he said to me, "Angelica Song, go spend a night with Romeo. Maybe then you'll have the money you need." After all, I have no shortage of people around me now. I completely lost hope. The day I entered Romeo's villa, Ethan regained his memory. That night, Ethan went mad outside, banging on the door all night. Romeo asked me, "Do you want to go out and see him?" "No," he smirked, his voice hoarse. "Then I'll put in a bit more effort." Chapter 1. In the hallway, I ran into my fiancé Ethan, escorting Clara to an award ceremony. Clara, Ethan's first love, had just returned to the country. Ethan and I had been in love for 3 years. Just before our wedding, when he came to visit me on set, I had an accident with the suspension wires while filming, and he hit his head trying to save me. When he woke up, he had lost his memory. He forgot about me. He forgot that he loved me. His memory froze in the year he was deeply in love with Clara. He thought our relationship was merely a business alliance between two families, and that I was the obstacle keeping him from pursuing true love. A month ago, this man loved me enough to risk his life for me. Now, for his so-called true love, whenever he faced me, he looked at me as if I were a complete stranger. At this moment, his eyes were cold and tinged with annoyance as he looked at me. A sharp pain rose in my chest, and I looked away to avoid his gaze. His phone rang, and he stepped aside to answer it. Clara moved closer to me, stepping on my evening gown. Her expression was full of pride. She looked at me and lowered her voice. "Angelica, even if you were with him for 3 years, it doesn't matter. His memories are filled with love for me. The doctor said he may never recover his memory. Even if he does, I have this time to win his heart. And by then, he won't love you anymore." I kicked the back of Clara's knee, and she fell to the floor. I looked down at her coldly. "Before you say things like that, you should know your place. You're just an intruder. You ruined my dress. I'll send you the bill. It's a limited edition. 2 million. Clara knelt there, her face changing to one of fake innocence, tears brimming as she spoke pitifully. "Miss Song, please don't be angry. I didn't mean to step on your dress. I'll pay you back, no matter how hard I have to try. But I'm sorry. I can't leave Ethan. I truly, deeply love him." As soon as she finished, Ethan noticed the commotion. He strode over, lifting her tenderly from the ground. He looked at me as if his gaze were the freezing winter wind, cold and piercing. He threw a black card at my face. "Don't think that just because you have money, you can act superior. Go ahead. Use it. It's only 2 million. Don't provoke Clara again. And don't even think I'll marry you, because that's never going to happen." He turned and left with her in his arms. My cheek stung as if it had been cut by a knife. I watched his cold, rigid back until my vision blurred. I closed my eyes wearily, forcing the tears away. "Ethan, can't you remember me soon? I don't know how much longer I can hold on. Even though I know you didn't mean to treat me this way, you just forgot our love. It still hurts every time you wound me for her. It makes me want to give up on you." Chapter 2. That night, the award that should have been mine went to Clara. Tonight, I had already heard that I was very likely to win Best Actress. Among all the TV dramas released at the same time, mine had the highest ratings and best reviews. But Clara, who had just returned, snatched it from me. She didn't even have a single well-known show in the country. She got the award for a low-budget drama that wasn't even well-received. How ridiculous. Who else but Ethan could make that happen? She had changed out of her dusty dress into a shimmering blue mermaid gown, standing on stage and shining as she thanked Ethan. In the crowd, their eyes met, and they smiled at each other, like two lovers deeply in love. The others in the audience turned their gaze toward me, knowing that Ethan was my fiancé. And here I was, still in the torn red dress, looking miserable and pathetic. I straightened my back, clenching my fists. I thought of a month ago, after an intense night, when he held me in his arms, talking about how, after I won Best Actress, he would book the entire golden tripod to celebrate with everyone. He even said he would propose to me at the awards, so everyone would know I was his. The stifling atmosphere became unbearable, and I stood up and left the hall. As soon as I got outside, I was surrounded by reporters, throwing harsh questions at me. "Miss Song, you were the hot favorite to win Best Actress tonight, but the award went to someone else. How do you feel about that? What's going on between you and Mr. Wang? Rumor had it that you were close to getting married, but now he's out with another woman? Did you two break up?" I was being overwhelmed, almost losing my balance when a strong arm wrapped around my waist. I looked up and saw a cold, proud face. He was wearing a white three-piece suit, looking even more untouchable. It was Romeo, the mysterious business mogul who rarely made public appearances, was here at a small awards ceremony. "Step back." The reporters, intimidated by his presence, retreated immediately, even though he only spoke a few emotionless words. Just then, Ethan came out with Clara. The reporters rushed toward them like bees to honey. One asked, "We've heard that you and Miss Song were about to get married. Is Miss Lee your new love? Is she the third party?" Clara's smile froze, and she looked anxiously at Ethan. Ethan pulled her into his arms protectively. Just as he was about to answer, he looked up and his gaze landed on me, lingering on my waist. He smiled cruelly and indifferently. "There's nothing between Miss Song and me, so don't make things up. As for Clara, she's my first love. I've always loved her. If Romeo hadn't been holding my waist, I would have collapsed." Since waking up from his injury, this wasn't the first time Ethan had said something like that to me. I thought I would get used to it after hearing it enough times, but hearing him say it so publicly, I felt like all the strength had drained from me. I'm so tired, holding on to a love that may or may not be revived. Yet, when I think of giving up, I remember how, when the suspension wires broke, he rushed to me without a second thought. Just before losing consciousness, he said, "As long as you're okay," his head covered in blood. "If he remembers and I'm not there, what will he do?" Clinging to Romeo like a lifeline, I held onto his arm. "Can you take me away from here?" Romeo's response was to open the car door, gesturing for me to enter. Chapter 3. In the days that followed, I stopped appearing in front of Ethan trying to rekindle our memories, even if it annoyed him. Instead, I focused on filming and taking on new roles. However, my agent told me that several roles that were supposed to be mine had been taken and given to Clara, the dark horse who had emerged that night. I knew it was Ethan's doing. He wanted to prove his loyalty to Clara and distance himself from me. Around that time, my father called to tell me that the Song family was in financial trouble. If we couldn't secure cash to get through this period, we'd face bankruptcy. I told him not to worry and transferred all the money I had earned over the years to the family. We were still 30 million short. My father urged me to go to Ethan, reminding me of all the help we gave the Wang family back when they were in trouble. Surely, he wouldn't refuse to help us. I spoke with Ethan's friends. Despite the state of our relationship, they still recognized me as their sister-in-law. They told me Ethan was at the Golden Tripod tonight. When I arrived, I saw a banner that read, "Happy Birthday, Clara," and realized it was Clara's birthday party. He was sitting on the sofa in the private room, holding Clara in his arms, a cigarette in his left hand. When he looked at me, his eyes were obscured by smoke. But when it cleared, I saw him frowning. It was clear he had no desire to see me. After everything that had happened, I was numb to the pain. I walked up to him. "I want to speak with you alone." He sneered. "Just because you want to talk, I have to talk to you? Say whatever you want here. I don't have time to deal with you." I clenched my fists. Growing up in a wealthy family, I had never been humiliated like this. Having to ask for money in front of so many people, especially my rival, felt like a slap in the face. But I had no choice. With a hoarse voice, I asked, "Can you lend me 30 million? He took a drag from his cigarette, his smile growing even more mocking. "Miss Song, weren't you just flaunting your money the other day? Now you're here to borrow from me?" He then looked down at Clara in his arms and asked, "Clara, should we lend it to her? Maybe she should kneel down and apologize to you first." "Ethan, Miss Song knows plenty of wealthy people. 30 million is nothing. She's close to Romeo. If you don't lend it, She shouldn't have any trouble finding another way, Clara replied. His expression darkened, his eyes turning colder, and he smiled cruelly. Angelica, go spend a night with Romeo, and maybe you'll get the money. After all, I have no shortage of people around me now. It turns out that extreme heartbreak feels like putting your heart through a meat grinder until it's completely shredded. Every breath seemed to amplify the pain in my chest. I felt tears welling up, and his face became increasingly blurry. Someone beside him warned him not to go too far, suggesting he might regret it if his memory returned. He responded arrogantly, I never regret anything. She's not my type. As he said those words, I remembered how, 3 years ago, he had rented out all the skyscrapers in the city to confess his love to me. He had looked at me with such affection, saying, Angelica, you're special. I like you. Let's give it a try. The stark contrast between that moment and his coldness now filled me with overwhelming sorrow. This time, I truly gave up. I picked up a glass of wine from the table and splashed it at him, the red stain soaking into his white shirt. Clara screamed, trying to wipe his face with tissues. He was about to lose his temper, but when he met my calm, tearful eyes, he froze. I wiped away my tears and, as if finally liberated, said, This is the last time I'll come to you. I'll take your advice to heart. I straightened my back and walked out of the private room. Chapter 4. Just as I came downstairs, I ran into 3 drunk men. They looked at me with lecherous smiles. One of them grabbed my arm and leaned in, staring at my face. You look just like a big celebrity. Angelica, you smell so good. I slapped him hard across the face and shouted, Get lost! The other 2, seeing their friend hit, cursed at me. You bitch. Acting all high and mighty, they surrounded me, insisting I serve them well. I knew some basic self-defense moves and fought them off for a while, but I was outnumbered. Eventually, they pinned me down against the bar, one holding my leg, another gripping my hand, while the third stood there, leering at me. Let's see how tough you act now. Everyone around just watched, not wanting to get involved. The people here were all wealthy or powerful, none willing to cause trouble for themselves. I looked up and saw Ethan standing on the second floor, looking down at my disheveled state. Help me, I called out. He was about to respond, but Clara whispered to him, Miss Song is a well-known daughter of the Song family and a big celebrity. She should have bodyguards with her. Maybe she counted on you feeling sorry for her. She was suggesting I was using this as a trick. He hesitated, seemingly considering her words. I had left the house in a rush today and hadn't brought anyone with me. I closed my eyes in despair. The disgusting hands had already torn the shoulder of my outer garment, touching me. Who dares mess with me? Damn it! Who kicked me? A coat was draped over me, and I opened my eyes to see Romeo. For the first time, his usually composed face showed clear anger, his eyes dark as the sea, full of cold fury. The 3 men restraining me were already lying on the ground like dead dogs, clearly having been kicked aside by him. He spoke in a low voice, Dogs are in the way. Then, he turned to me, his voice softening. Put your clothes back on. He walked up to the man who had torn my clothes, looking down at him. Which hand did you use to touch her? Do you know who I am? I'm from the Jean family in North City. If you dare touch me, ah. Before he could finish, Romeo lost his patience. He stepped on the man's left hand, pressing down hard, making him scream in agony. Remember, if you want revenge, come find me, Romeo. Throughout it all, Romeo's expression didn't change, as if he had done something entirely ordinary. The other 2 men dragged their friend away in a hurry. Romeo came back to me. Can you walk on your own? I said, yes, but as soon as I stepped off the bar, I felt a sharp pain in my ankle and stumbled. He lifted me into his arms. Don't be so stubborn all the time. Chapter 5. The second time I sat in Romeo's Cayenne, he placed me in the back seat before kneeling down to examine my foot. I'll press on it a bit. Tell me if it hurts. I nodded. His cool, slender fingers pressed on my ankle. The touch was cold, but where he touched seemed to burn. I instinctively pulled my foot back, but he grabbed it and looked up at me. Does it hurt? In the small space of the car, with his face so close, his features were even more striking. My foot, held by his hand, felt even hotter. No. Then don't move. I'll be gentle. I glanced at the driver's face in the rearview mirror, looking awkward and determined to ignore us. This damn conversation was making my heart race, and my face flushed. It's just a sprain. Nothing serious. I had twisted it when I landed awkwardly while wearing heels during the fight. He checked my foot, confirmed there was nothing serious, and returned to his seat. It's a sprain, but don't take it lightly. Apply a warm compress and some ointment later. Thank you again, Mr. Fu. The Song family, is there trouble? He didn't seem like someone who would meddle in others' affairs. I looked at him in surprise. He was leaning back, eyes closed, as if casually asking, yes, some issues. How much do you need? 30 million. I can give it to you, Mr. Fu. You're quite generous. He opened his eyes and looked at me, smiling as if I'd said something amusing. I'm not helping you for free. Not for free. Did he fancy me? He was handsome and had helped me several times. I wouldn't lose out, but I wasn't interested. Help me with a movie. 30 million will be your fee. Paid up front. I choked, clearly. I'd overthought it. You look like you were thinking something else. He noted. I tried to joke lightly. I thought you were interested in me, helping me so many times, but instead of laughing, he looked at me seriously. You're right. I'm not a charitable person, but I don't like forcing people. Nor do I like someone whose heart isn't clear, so I'll wait until you're willing. As for the movie, don't feel pressured. You were always my first choice. I'm just paying you in advance. Chapter 6. The next day, Romeo transferred the money after the Song family successfully weathered the crisis. I signed a contract with the production team, waiting for the official filming to begin. During this time, since my leg was still healing, Romeo and I only communicated through WeChat, exchanging a few messages each day, even when he was on business trips. He didn't miss a day. Gradually, I got used to messaging him every day. About half a month later, on the day I joined the production team as agreed, I ran into Clara. We weren't filming the same drama, it was just a coincidence that we were shooting at the same location. The two crews had nothing to do with each other. If there was any connection, it was that Clara was now starring in the drama Pursuit, a role originally meant for me. Just before filming began, they replaced me with Clara. During the lunch break, Clara came over to greet me. Miss Song, what a coincidence. We really are destined to meet. I frowned at her coldly. I suggest you stop provoking me. Even if Ethan protects you, you won't always get away unscathed. Frightened by my tone, she took several steps back, bumping into a tree and wincing in pain. I ignored her, but when I turned around, I saw Ethan approaching. No wonder she looked so pitiful again, playing the victim. As usual, as I brushed past him, I didn't even glance at Ethan, but he reached out and grabbed my wrist. Remembering how he had watched me being assaulted without stepping in, I pulled my hand away in disgust and said mockingly, "Don't touch me. I didn't do anything to her. She ran into the tree herself." He opened his mouth but, in the end, didn't say a word. I shook him off and returned to the van. Chapter 7. Ethan felt a strange emotion deep inside. It was as if he couldn't stand Angelica treating him this way. She wasn't pestering him anymore, which should have made him happy. But instead, he felt a sense of frustration, and he loosened the top 2 buttons of his shirt. When he first woke up in the hospital, he saw Angelica by his bed, with her arms still bleeding from an 4 needle. His impression of her was that, during family gatherings, both families had made it clear they had no interest in pursuing a relationship. But now, she was saying they were going to get married. All he remembered was being in love with Clara. When Angelica said they were engaged, he thought she was being two-faced, acting uninterested in front of him while secretly agreeing to the engagement with their parents. A scheming woman. When she asked if he was all right, he had coldly told her to get lost. He called Clara. Angelica had looked at him in disbelief. "What do you mean? We're about to get married. Don't tell me you're still hung up on your old flame." He sneered. "Our marriage is nothing but a business deal. I'll make it clear to my family. Now, please leave the room. Clara will be here soon, and I don't want her upset." She left in anger, and seeing her upset made him uneasy too. He chalked it up to her deciding on the marriage without his consent. When he reunited with Clara, he learned they had just gotten back together. He had lost his memory. They had been forced to break up before because of the arranged marriage, and his mother had threatened her life if they didn't separate. But all these years, he had never forgotten Clara. When he found out she was back, he told her he would still marry her and cancel the engagement. Now, with his memory lost, he'd forgotten all their struggles. His parents must have sided with Angelica, telling him they were in love. He felt sorry for Clara, who had gone through all that alone, while he only remembered their time as lovers. So, whenever he saw Angelica after that, he treated her with cold disdain, telling her to leave. Whenever he saw her disappointed expression, he should have felt satisfaction, but he never did. The fleeting discomfort would vanish before he could fully grasp it. She was like a stubborn leech. No matter how many times he pushed her away, she'd be back the next day with his favorite soup. She always looked at him expectantly, hoping he would remember, and he would knock over her soup in front of her, drinking the one Clara had brought instead. After that, she didn't show up for a long time. At the awards ceremony, when he saw her dressed so radiantly, his gaze lingered on her. He found himself wanting to see her, but she was just a spoiled heiress, bullying Clara and making him despise her all over again. Clara told him they were worlds apart and warned him not to offend the Song family over her. Just the Song family. He needed to teach Angelica a lesson, make her come to him willingly. But that night, she clung to another man in front of everyone, got in his car, and left. It seemed the lesson wasn't harsh enough. He had Clara take on many of Angelica's roles. Until that night at the bar, the way she looked at him was different from all the other times. It was resolute, as if it were the last time. He actually felt a twinge of panic. After she left, he couldn't sit still and went outside to smoke. When he saw her being harassed, Clara suggested she might be doing it on purpose to get his attention. He thought about Angelica's previous behavior. She had always been tough and wouldn't resort to such methods. Just a moment of hesitation, and she was taken away. He thought this time, she really wouldn't come back. He should have been happy, but instead, he found himself restless and uneasy every day. So, when Clara mentioned seeing Angelica today, he came immediately. He felt a surge of hope. She had always been persistent in the past. So how could she give up so easily? Maybe she was just angry and would come back. Just like before, she couldn't let go of him. She must have come because of him. Thinking that, his frustration disappeared. Chapter 8. Reality soon shattered Ethan's delusion. He caught me and Romeo together in the van. Romeo said he was in the area for work and decided to check on me after he was done. "How's your ankle?" "It's much better now." He knelt down and rolled up my pant leg. "Don't move, let me take a look myself." I stared at him blankly, and as his fingertips brushed my ankle, that searing heat returned, only stronger this time. He rested my slender ankle on his thigh, examining it carefully, his gaze reverent, his touch gentle, as if handling a priceless treasure. I could feel the strength of his thigh muscles, and my heartbeat quickened. I mumbled softly, "I'm fine, it's been a while." He looked up at me and smiled warmly. "It seems you listened to me and took good care of it." Just as I was about to pull my foot back, a cold voice interrupted. "What are you two doing?" I knew that voice all too well. Flirtatious, cajoling, angry, cold, heartless. I'd heard them all. It was Ethan. He stood in the shadows, his face half-lit, his presence icy, like a vengeful demon. His eyes burned as he looked at us. I looked down at us. The space in the van was limited. Romeo's left hand was holding my foot, and his right arm was around my waist to keep me from slipping. We were sitting face to face in a very intimate position. Romeo smirked, unconcerned. "Mr. Wong, what she and I do is none of your business." Ethan took a step closer, relaxing slightly when he saw our clothes were intact. "Get down." Seeing Ethan brought back memories of that night in the private room when he mocked me for going to Romeo. Instead of getting down, I moved even closer to Romeo, practically sitting on his lap, feeling the solidness of his chest. I tilted my head, looking at Ethan disdainfully. "Didn't you tell me to find Romeo? Now that I have, who are you to tell me what to do? Do you think you're that important?" "Enough." Angelica, don't regret this. His assumption that I was doing all this just to provoke him was laughable. What? Are you regretting it now? Aren't you supposed to be in love with Clara? Acting so jealous here. Who are you trying to impress? It seemed I had hit a nerve. He snorted coldly. I just think it's indecent for you to do this in broad daylight. It has nothing to do with you. With your filthy heart. Everything looks dirty to you. My retorts made him lose face. And for the first time, he walked away, visibly angry. Romeo let go of my waist and placed me back in my seat. He looked down at me, his beautiful eyes showing a hint of hurt, and his tone grew distant. So, you came to me because he told you to? You got close to me just to make him angry? Seeing his expression, I froze. It was completely at odds with the dignified, aloof image he usually presented. He looked more like a puppy that had been wronged. Before I could answer, he stood up, giving a self-deprecating laugh. I won't bother you anymore. Maybe there's still a chance for you too. He clearly cares about you. Seeing him about to leave, I panicked and grabbed his hand, urgently denying it. No. He stopped and looked at me, his eyes full of hope. Romeo, I didn't come to you because of him, and I didn't get close to you to provoke him. It's over between us, completely. There's no chance of us getting back together. Finally, I hooked my finger in his palm. As for you, I'm willing now. You mentioned you have a ragdoll cat at home. I'd like to see it tonight. His face was as composed as ever, but the tips of his ears turned red. With a low chuckle, he said, "Tonight, I'll come pick you up." Chapter 9. In the afternoon, I filmed a scene in the water. I was in good form and nailed it in one take. After changing into dry clothes, I planned to shoot another scene. It was a wirework scene. I still had some fear after the last accident with the wires. But in acting, wirework is often necessary. If I wanted to continue in this industry, I had to overcome it. So I got back on the wires. While filming, I saw Ethan had come as well. He watched me suspended in the air, his gaze gradually becoming confused. He reached up to rub his head. The last shot was of me being struck by a demon from above, my body falling backward with my arms spread wide, as if hit by a powerful blow. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. After the scene wrapped, Ethan had disappeared again. Once my scenes were done, I went to remove my makeup. When I left the set, Romeo's car was already waiting for me. Romeo's place was about an hour's drive from the set, and we spent the ride chatting casually. When we arrived, as he unbuckled my seatbelt, I boldly kissed his cheek. He immediately turned his head, capturing my lips instead. The usually aloof and restrained man was now insatiable, exploring the kiss with fervor. By the time we got out of the car, we were both a bit breathless. As he pushed open the villa door, he said, "Let's see the cat first." I closed the door behind us and pressed him against it. "The cat can wait." We kissed our way from the door to the sofa. Just as he was leaning in to kiss me again, there was a loud bang at the door. Boom! "Romeo, open the damn door!" It was Ethan. We exchanged a glance. Romeo paused, clearly annoyed and slightly uneasy, asking me, "Do you want to go out and see him?" I tightened my grip on his waist, grumbling in displeasure. "No." He smirked, his voice hoarse, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Then I'll put in a bit more effort." The pounding on the door and the sound of it being rammed echoed repeatedly. Outside, Ethan was shouting in anguish, his voice filled with the despair of a cornered beast. He choked out, "Jelly, come out, please." I remember now. I remember everything. Chapter 10. Seeing Angelica suspended on the wires and falling, Ethan felt a sharp pain in his head. He quickly went to the restroom, submerging his head in water to alleviate the pain. Images flashed through his mind. He remembered everything. It turned out he truly loved Angelica. 4 years ago, Clara had broken up with him when the Wong family faced trouble. He had already planned to cancel the engagement with Angelica, but the Song family helped him regardless. They lent him billions and publicly announced their engagement, stabilizing the stock market and helping him through the crisis. He fell for Angelica, a woman who didn't love him but was willing to sacrifice her reputation to help him. He was the one who pursued her. He found out her hobbies, even learned racing just to have a chance encounter with her. Using the favor he owed the Song family as an excuse, he visited her more often, gradually getting closer. After a year of pursuing her, she finally agreed to date him. For 3 years, their relationship had been sweet. Just before their wedding, he heard that Clara was coming back. At the airport, he was photographed by the media, who claimed he was picking up his ex. It was just a coincidence. He was there to visit Angelica on set. After his fall and subsequent memory loss, all he remembered was being in love with Clara. In his amnesiac state, he had done so many foolish things. How could he have humiliated Jelly for Clara, who had abandoned him for profit? How could he have stolen the Best Actress award that Jelly had worked so hard for? How could he have told her to go to another man when she came to him for help? Worst of all, when she was nearly assaulted, he hesitated when he could have saved her. The remorse was almost tearing him apart. Every part of him ached. How could he have been so horribly wrong? He needed to explain everything to Jelly. She would understand, after all. They had loved each other for 3 years. After asking around, he learned she had gotten into Romeo's car. Remembering their intimate posture, he couldn't sit still and immediately tracked down Romeo's property. When he arrived, he heard the sounds from inside. So familiar. He was losing his mind. He kicked the door violently, the force making his entire leg go numb with pain. But no one responded to his desperate calls. He called for help, intending to break the door down completely. He even fought with the security guards from the villa complex. By the time he dealt with them, the door had opened. What he saw was Romeo, looking utterly satisfied, and Angelica, leaning weakly against the sofa. She had a thin blanket draped over her, red marks on her neck, her eyes still heavy with allure. He let out a guttural roar, the pain in his chest almost unbearable. It was like a fate worse than death. He swung his fist at Romeo's face. How dare you touch her? Chapter 11. Romeo dodged Ethan's punch and kicked him in the knee. Ethan fell to the ground, but he stubbornly grabbed Romeo's leg, and both of them went down. The security guards rushed over, trying to pull them apart. Ethan struggled free, wanting to continue the fight. I stepped between them, looking coldly at Ethan. Have you had enough? His hands dropped helplessly to his sides. I turned to Romeo. I want to talk to him alone. Romeo waved his hand, signaling for everyone else to leave. I'll be in the study upstairs. If you need anything, just call me. I'll be right here. Ethan's eyes were filled with tears as he looked at me, the tears rolling down his cheeks. Jelly, I've remembered everything. Can't we forget all this and just get married as planned, please? I let out a low laugh. It was pathetic and ridiculous. I had held onto our relationship so tightly, refusing to let go, while he humiliated me over and over again. But when I finally decided to give up, to let him go to Clara, he suddenly remembered everything and wanted to make amends. Is that even possible? I pointed to the marks on my neck, laughing derisively. Do you think we can go back to the way we were? He panted, every word coming out with great difficulty. Jelly, I don't care. We can go back. But I care. I don't want to be with you and constantly remember how you humiliated me for another woman, how you told me to go to another man for money, or how you stood by while I was being assaulted. It disgusts me. His tears fell. I had never seen him cry like this. He was always so proud, always above it all. Even when the Wong family was on the brink of bankruptcy and Clara left him, he had only looked a little dejected. I forgot you because Clara lied to me, and you believed her without even checking? Why didn't you trust your parents? Was there still a corner of your heart that belonged to her? Even if you forgot, is that an excuse to humiliate someone who loves you? To stand by while she's being hurt? I just feel like maybe I never really understood you. That night, it ended completely. From now on, you can be with whoever you want. He knelt before me, grabbing my hand. Jelly, can't you give me another chance? At least because I saved your life once? I pulled my hand away. I'm not like you. When I accept someone, I clear my heart of everything else. There's no going back for us. Saving me was just repaying the debt the Song family incurred by helping the Wong family. We're even now. I ignored him and closed the door behind me. Chapter 12. When I went upstairs, Romeo immediately pulled me into his arms. He leaned his head on my shoulder, speaking softly. Angelica, I was really afraid you'd choose him. He got his memory back. And he saved you. I couldn't help but laugh. The ruthless business tycoon, feared by all, could be this foolish too. I actually made my choice hours ago. If I wanted to go back, I would have gone out to see him the moment he arrived. There would still have been room for reconciliation then, but I didn't go because I had already made up my mind. I wanted him to give up completely. His kiss fell on me again, and I leaned back, feeling weak. He held me tighter, grumbling. He kept making a scene outside. I was worried someone would really come in, so I couldn't enjoy it fully. With that, his lips came down on mine again. Why do you like me? Was it my looks? He didn't stop, but began explaining slowly. In fact, we had met back in college. Back then, he wasn't as outstanding as he is now. He was withdrawn, wore black-rimmed glasses, and was often mocked as a weirdo. Once, I saw him being mocked again, so I stepped in and taught the person a lesson, saying I wanted to be his friend. After that, I really did start having meals with him in the cafeteria. At that time, I was the campus beauty with many admirers, and he was even warned off by some. But he didn't care. Unfortunately, not long after, he was sent abroad by his family to study. Later, he watched many of my shows, saw me climb higher and higher. He changed his style while abroad, and after becoming the head of the Fu family, he thought about approaching me when he returned, but I had Ethan by my side, and we always seemed so happy together. So he held back. He attended that awards ceremony specifically for me. He knew I always wanted to win Best Actress and wanted to see me achieve that dream. If he'd known someone was interfering, he wouldn't have let it happen. He said it was a good thing he showed up at the Golden Tripod that night and got close to me again. The last thing I remember before I passed out from exhaustion was him whispering in my ear, "Why not continue with the wedding, just change the groom?" Okay.